Hey guys, what is going on? Well, look at you, Dan. You are just right on the money, aren't you? Welcome in. Well, hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. What's everybody drinking today? I am drinking some cinnamon hot tea. So we are still battling some viruses here. My poor son, I swear he's like always got the sniffles. Kindergarten is like a petri dish. And that's just something that we always have to deal with. So he is homesick again today. I'm feeling much better than I was last week, but I'm still just kind of like run down. So I know I'm still kind of fighting something, but that's also why I'm talking quietly, because I'm trying to have him nap as much as possible. So I am drinking some nice warm cinnamon tea, which is absolutely lovely, with some local honey that I got from my neighbor. And I'm also really excited about that because I went to my first bee meeting for my area. And so that was really exciting. I don't know if I have told you guys that I am planning on getting bees this season, and I don't know anything about bees. I have learned very little in the recent research that I have done. But like I learned, all the bees are female. The only males in the colony are called drones, and they don't do anything except for impregnate queens. So all the workers are female, and everybody that does all the work, like the whole thing is done by female bees. So that was something new that I learned. But I went to my first meeting, and that was very enlightening. I also took a virtual class on bees because I know absolutely nothing. And it was just like one of those free informational classes that they give just to kind of pique interest, see who's interested, and get more people to come, into their either organization or their group or whatever. So, I mean, they give you good information, but they only give you just like a little bit of a taste of information so that you will join their group and, pay your dues or whatever to get more information. But it was very informative. And then I found my local bee association, and I went to that on Monday, and they said a lot of the same things. But obviously, those people are local to me, and the people that I watched on my virtual thing. Yeah, so I learned, Dan, that the smoke, like, I don't remember if it like disorients them or something. Or like puts them to sleep, but it makes them go into the inside of the hive so that they're protecting it's like they think that they're in a forest fire basically, and so their natural instinct is to, hey Ashley, thanks for coming in. Their natural instinct is to protect the queen. So then they think they're in a forest fire, they're going to protect their queen. So they all run back into the hive and surround the queen to try to protect her. So that's why you use the smoke to stimulate their protection awareness or whatever, so that they all come back in, and then their focus is on save the queen, not, go sting or whatever. So it's really interesting because I've learned that by watching lots of, chicken things, lots of gardening things, lots of bee things, like everything is basically the same. Like you have to pretend you're, like when you're trying to figure something out, you got to put yourself in the place of your animal or your plant or whatever. Like we want our things to act the way that we want them to act, but they're all wild things that we are trying to morph into what we want. Is that like for real? They love you? They like come and land on you or what? I hope you're not, I hope that you enjoy them as well if they love you so much. So if you just like put yourself in your garden's or your plants, frame of mind, what do they need? What do they want? What are they trying to do? They're trying to reproduce. They're not trying to feed us, or with your chickens or, or with your bees. Your bees want to be up in a tree. They think they're in a tree. Treat them as though they're in a tree. We've just put them on the ground and made them vulnerable so that we can get to them. It's like all kind of like the same thing. So I thought that was kind of interesting listening to them, listening to all them talk. And I was like, yeah, that's the same thing with gardening. So, they try to sting you. So that was a big thing in both of the bee things that I watched. And honeybees, Homestead Love, hey, what's going on? I am so sorry, Homestead Love. Can you remind me of your name? I watch your stuff all the time, and I can't remember your name. I'm so sorry. Unless you don't want me to call you by your name, then that's fine too. But anyway, today what I really wanted to do, and what I'm actually, Danielle, dang it. I need to write that down. Thank you very much. And I'm very envious of your sourdough game, just to say. I always get, every time I watch your stuff, I'm like, my bread doesn't look like that. Girl, I can never tag because I'm always on my phone. Like my live is the only time I'm on like a computer. And like I'm honored that people would ask me to be their moderators, but I'm like, it's useless because I'm always on my phone and I can't like, I have to type out everybody's links. Like it doesn't auto-populate when you're on your phone. So it never like works out for me. Oh, there you go, Ashley. Now you are. I'm trying to get better at sourdough. And I can't. And I keep a dry sourdough starter and I keep it in my refrigerator. And at this point, it's quite lethargic because I have not fed it in a while. And I keep meaning to just like take it out and feed it. And I'm just not good at it. But anyway, today, what I was hoping that you guys would actually help me with, yeah, I still have a starter, but it's real lethargic. I have to like revive it, and it needs a lot of reviving. But I am like crazy. My mind is like crazy busy with all these ideas, and gardening season is very rapidly like pounding away at me, and it's like nagging me. And like I'd mentioned before, there are no gardens here established. And Mike built me 2 raised beds, and they're nothing special. He just took some leftover wood from our old chicken coop and slapped them together. They're not permanent. They're just a place for me to grow things. And right now, one of them is full with onions and garlic, and the other one is not. And that one I plan on putting like some brassicas and some lettuce. But that's the only like garden space that I have established so far. But what I want to do is turn my entire front yard where my chickens are into my garden. And I have all these big dreams and aspirations, and I have so much space and so much land that I could build a tremendously large garden, but I know that's not what I should do because it's not manageable, and I want all the things, and I know that's not manageable. So I've come to terms with this, and I'm going to try to do more of a staple garden. But I'm having this total analysis paralysis, you guys. I can't like move forward. I haven't even planted a seed yet because I am so like paralyzed in all of these thoughts. So what I have decided is that I am making a 2,400 square foot garden for this year. And I have to fence it off because the deer out here are absolutely crazy. We have so many deer, and you would have never known that we had all these deer during hunting season because they were nowhere to be found. But now that hunting season is over, they're everywhere. So I have to fence it off. And I was toying with like just doing like a cheaper fence by getting like T-posts and then like that plastic fencing. If you guys know what I'm familiar with, like that green plasticky netting junk. I was going to get that and try to, they do know where to hide, Dan. That is true. And they know it's, what's even crazier is they know when to hide. That was more astonishing because literally the day after hunting season ended is when they all came out. Oh, that's nice, Ashley. Yeah, see, I don't have that. And because we were moving, I didn't buy anything like at the end of the year. Like I love doing that. But I priced it out and T-posts and you said you did black plastic deer fencing. Yeah. So I priced it out and the T-posts with the plastic netting cost the same as getting 4x4 pillars and chicken wire. And I don't, in my opinion, I feel like the wooden pillars are more sturdy. Hey there, Pedroza Travel. Thank you so much for coming in. I just feel more secure and like it's a little more hardier to get those 4x4 wooden posts and stapling on chicken wire. Now we did like look into the I don't know what the other fencing is called, but it's like the step above chicken wire, and it's like that galvanized steel. Maybe that sounds too heavy duty, but it's like the metal fencing that just like looks nicer. I did a video on what? My fencing? I don't think so. I've talked about it before. But I have not. So we're just going to do, I think, these 4x4 posts, and we've just ordered chicken wire. And one of the things that I've had an issue with is that what I'm concerned about is, with these 4x4 posts, we're going to borrow our neighbor's tractor, and she's got like a nice big John Deere post hole digger. And so it'll make it easier. But like once I bury those, I know at some point I'm going to want to expand my garden. And it's going to be a total pain in the butt to pull these big posts out of the ground. But that's neither here nor there. This is what we're doing. We have made the decision. I've made a decision because this is the only decision that I have made. Hey, Destiny. So thank you so much for coming in. Yes. No, I'm not worried about my line of sight at all. I'm just thinking that I'm going to want to change my layout of my garden at some point, and I just think it's going to be harder I was going to go bigger, but I've decided I'm not going to go bigger. I'm just going to stick to what we have right now. So I've decided I'm going to do 2,400 square feet. It's 40 by 60. It doesn't look like much because I have it just 4 T-posts marked out with 4 T-posts currently. And because our front yard is so expansive, it doesn't look that big, but I know that 2,400 square feet of garden is going to be plenty. I've never had a garden that big. I mean, even if I were to take coming from a suburban garden, so I had like a garden here and a garden there, and then a couple gardens on this side. Like I had little gardens sprinkled throughout my yard, to then having one condensed area of gardens. I don't really know how to lay out my garden. So what I did, let me see if I can find it here. I came up with things that I wanted to grow. And then I used this as like my 40 by 60 template. And I divided it into like 4 quadrants. And I kind of jotted down what things I would put together. And so that's kind of how I've started. And most of this is going to be in ground. Hey, Katie. Thank you so much for coming in. Yeah, they are going to be all over the place. That's why I got to put this freaking thing up. And this fencing is costing so much. And I need to do this also around my orchard, which I've already purchased and hasn't come in yet. So like this fencing is more than I've spent on anything so far, on all the trees that I've bought, on the chicken tractors that I've made. This fencing is costing more than all of that. Oh, that's awesome. I've never grown huckleberry. I feel you, Ashley. So most of this is going to be in-ground gardening. I think I might do, and this is like my rough sketch of what I'm going to be doing. And I was thinking for my tomatoes and peppers, specifically for my tomatoes, since I want to bury my tomatoes deeper, that I might do this quadrant of the garden in quote unquote raised beds, kind of similar to what we already have. Not super deep, but our native soil is very rocky, very clay. So getting more of these like shorter raised beds, just so that all the dirt in that like 6 inches is dirt that I put there, whether it's my compost or potting soil that I buy. I can bury those like tomatoes and things of that nature deeper. So I think just this quadrant, I'm going to do some raised beds. But so I've never really done in-ground gardening, and I don't, now my paralysis is how big of beds do I make? How wide? How I've also been watching all of these, all these big YouTubers who are like, if I was to be redoing my garden right now, like the things that I wish I knew when I built this garden, you know, those kinds of videos. And a lot of them say, I wish I would have, you know, made them bigger, but they don't, or made my walkways bigger so I could get like my wheelbarrow through, or I could drive my tractor through. My plan for this garden is, let me just start there, I guess. And I totally plan on doing that too, Katie. I usually do that, but I still, like, this native soil is just garbage. So I wouldn't really have much to lay it down in anyway. So my plan on constructing this, because right now it's very luscious grass that my chickens have been pooping on and fertilizing and doing a great job. So what I plan on doing is, I'm planning on doing the no dig method. I'm planning on taking, I don't have a silage tarp. I have some tarps, but we're using 2 tarps to cover our, what's it called? Our trailer. It's an open trailer and it is treated, but we're still wanting to keep the weather off of it since we don't have any garages. So it's sitting out and 2 of our tarps are being used up by that. I think we have 1 more junk tarp that I could use, but I could really use like a really big like silage tarp and put it over this grass to try to kill it. But I don't have one of those. But the previous owners left a garbage pile, thank you very much, over on the other side of our driveway. And I was digging through there because you can tell that they just threw a bunch of crud back there, like right before they moved. Like, we don't have time to go through this, or and there's no garbage pickup around here. You can take anything you want to our dump, and it's literally down my road. Like, they had to pass the dump as they were leaving, and they didn't take it. Anyway, I've gone through there, and I've actually pulled out a lot of things that we can use from there. And one of the things that I came across was an old pool cover, and it's all tangled up in garbage and branches and things like that. But I'm going to pull that out and hope that no snakes come out at me, because that also scares us. And that's why we want to do it while it's still cold outside, or colder outside, so that maybe snakes aren't around as much. That's like my number one fear about living here. Tessie's Hot Kitchen, welcome. Oh goodness, jumped. Welcome in. Thank you so much. Ugh, snakes. Exactly. Janet, thank you so much for coming in. Yeah, I don't do snakes. And I'm up on the mountain, and I know that there's snakes galore up here. I haven't seen any yet. I'm just, so I need to pull out that pool tarp. I'm sure it's got tons of holes in it, but it's better than nothing. So I'm going to pull that out and lay it across the grass. And then I'm going to be covering the grass to try to kill it. And I realize that it's not going to all die, but it's a start. And then I also realized that all that glorious chicken poop that I've just had my chickens put down, because then what I'm going to do after this grass like dies down or dies back is I'm going to put cardboard over that, and then put I'm hoping to get wood chips, and I signed up for Chip Drop. And I know that a lot of people have signed up for Chip Drop, and a lot of people are not happy with Chip Drop because they just have never gotten anything from Chip Drop. It works for some people, probably based on where you live. It's really great for some people and really not great for others. So I reached out to some tree companies around me, and because I live on the mountain, a lot of them said, "Oh, we don't come to your area." And I was like, "Oh, great, thanks." And then another one said, "Well, I could, but you should probably just reach out to Chip Drop." And I was like, "Well, I did that." And I've already, for those of you that are familiar, it's like a cycle thing. And I think it's been 4 weeks since I signed up last time. And they're like, "Sorry, we haven't gotten to you. Are you still interested?" So I had to like renew my interest in Chip Drop. But I guess that shows that they're actually like trying to keep things fresh. Like I'm hoping by like renewing mine, maybe it like pops up on somebody's radar. I don't know who really, I kind of figured Chip Drop was local, like the local arborists would sign up with Chip Drop, but I spoke to all the local arborists and they're like, "No, we don't come to your area." So I was like, well, then maybe Chip Drop won't come to my area either. I don't know. But he also did give me a good suggestion. He said you should call your municipality and see who trims the trees for your lines in your area. And so I have yet to do that, but I want to get a bunch of wood chips, and then lay that over the cardboard. And I want to use wood chip walkways. Like I want there to be no grass in here at all. So I don't need to get a lawnmower between my beds, but I do need to get like my wheelbarrow, or I don't have a wheelbarrow. I have a gorilla cart. So it has to be wide enough to get my gorilla cart through. I don't know what else would need to get through. Yeah, you're waiting too. Exactly. All right, you tried. Yeah, and you know, I'm not, I mean, here we are already mid-February. I'm wanting to plant this come I don't know, April, May. Maybe I'll plant in May. I really wanted to plant some greens in there. I might like this. Do I have? No, I do, yeah. My lettuce and stuff like that. Like maybe that'll be my like test bed. Maybe I'll just throw up one side, my more shady side of my garden. But I'm not really expecting it to work really well. But I figure any little bit would help. If you guys remember, I put up those videos making those little compost rings. And when I did it, Mike, my husband, he was like, "That's too small for it to compost." And I was like, "I understand that, but it's going to do something. Like it's going to start to break down. Right now, all it is, leaves from our yard and the bedding from the chicks and, some odds and ends. It's got to do something." Well, it did start to break down, but then I pulled those little compost rings up and I took a pitchfork and I pulled all the compost off and I added it to my new big compost. And the bottom of where those little compost rings are, that's bare ground now. And that was grass when I did that. So when I started those compost rings, had to been, my chicks my birds are now 20 weeks-ish, 19 weeks. And so it was maybe 8 weeks ago that I did that. And that ground is now totally barren. So, I mean, 8 weeks from now is when I'm trying to be planting other things. So it makes me very hopeful that if the compost sitting on it did that in 8 weeks, then putting a tarp down, I'm hoping, is going to do the same thing. Hoping. I've tried landscaping fabric and I absolutely hated it. It has never worked for me. They just grow right through it. And they grow right, because then you got to create your hole in the fabric to plant your plant through, and they grow up through the hole. I just don't, it's not for me. I wish you the best. It just hasn't worked for me. Oh, you're doing the Three Sisters gardening. That's awesome. Let me know how that goes. I hope you video that. I've always Weed Central. Oh gosh. I mean, we hear all these things that are supposed to be like these tried and true things. Oh, thank you so much for coming in, Dan. I appreciate you for stopping in whenever. Oh, I'm sorry for the miscommunication. Oh, you have a premiere. I'm sorry I'm going to miss it. I'll have to go back and watch it though. Thank you so much for coming in. Okay. Well, I hope it works out. I've noticed that all the things that you don't want to grow through your weed fabric are the only things that have the strong enough will to push their way through the fabric, because it is so light. It just barges right through, and even for me, it has ripped through the fabric. But that's just been my experience. Yeah. Well, I hope it works better. I totally hope it works for you. I mean, I feel like maybe this year is your year for that. I feel like maybe that's also one of those things that it's going to work one year and it's not going to work another year. I mean, who knows? So, do any of you guys actually grow in ground and like do like the row gardening? I've never done that before. I've never grown in rows, never. So that's totally new to me. So I don't really know how to map it out, the spacing. I'm kind of at a loss. And I have to do something soon, because I feel like I'm running out of time. Well, I'm loving that you're loving it. Isn't that the truth, right? Even when we fall on our face, it makes a great video. Okay, so you grow in ground. Well, that's exciting. How big are your beds? And I know that some of you guys have iffy internet. Like, I know Destiny has never really been able to get up on a live or anything, but if anyone wants to join me up here, I would much rather talk with somebody and hash things out. And I'm always just happy to converse face to face with somebody. Yeah, but Destiny, how big are your rows is what I'm questioning. I've seen some people do 30 inches, which I can reach over across a 30-inch row. I can see the benefits of having narrower rows. But that also doesn't seem like a very wide space to me. And I don't know if I'm just being naive. And like I'm thinking, and I don't want to only be able to reach like the middle of the row, because then I know, I'm going to be like stretching out as far as I possibly can to get to that middle row, and I'll probably break something or. Well, hello. Welcome in. Keys Crochet and More. Thank you so much for coming in. Oops, sorry, I clicked off of that. Yes, please try. I mean, what is the harm in trying? Everything I'm doing this year is brand spanking new to me. And that's the fun of gardening, because every year is different. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you're dealing with more weeds when you're growing in ground. Absolutely. But I'm really hopeful with this. I mean, every time I watch somebody that does this, no dig in-ground gardening with wood, doing all the things, they say that if you stay on top of the weeding, that year after year, adding more compost on top, adding more cardboard to sequester those weeds, like I'm really hopeful. But again, I've never done it. I've never done any of this, what I'm planning on doing this year. I've never done any of it before. So I've always grown in raised beds that I brought in all the soil, and that's just not an option for me right now. And you said you went too narrow last year. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying not to do that, Destiny. I'm trying really hard not to overwhelm myself. Don't we always? You're not a failure. No way. Ronnie, shut the front door. Aren't you supposed to be at work, dude? I'm so happy to see you. Ron is one of my former coworkers. His wife is the one that created my brand, my icon, my bare bones. I know I can grow a bunch of stuff. I know I'm going to put so much work into making this garden. And I know that I'm going to be disappointed, because I know I'm going to do something wrong and I'm going to want to change it. You're at work. Are you at work right now? Are you on lunch? And I'm gonna be putting so much work into putting down all of this cardboard, bringing in all this wood chips, I'm making tons of soil this year, tons of compost. Hey, what's going on, Pineapple? Thank you so much for coming in. Oh no. Cat on the counter. I can't imagine that does. I don't have cats. I have nothing really against cats. I just have never had cats, but I can imagine that they would knock everything over. Oh, thank you so much, Katie, for that reminder. I see. Are you hiding somewhere? Oh no. How is your new job? How is that going? Oh, there you go. You could sign Debbie up for making other people's logos. She has a graphic designer, Ron. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember if she was a graphic designer or something in art and graphics, something. But she's also caring for 3 little boys at home, so who are not so little anymore. But she does awesome work, as evidenced by my logo. So I know that I'm going to make these beds, and I know all the work that's going to go into them, and I know that I'm going to get things growing in them. I'm just nervous about making the wrong decisions, and I'm sure I probably just have to get over that. And just bite the bullet and do whatever feels right, I guess. The first step was mapping out this garden. I really needed to do that. Seeing it, background and graphic design. There you go. I wasn't that far off. So that, now that I'm looking at 4 posts, I'm mostly excited to grow my potatoes, which I haven't purchased any potatoes, which I probably should, because I feel like with the potatoes, I can just kind of throw them out and cover them with straw and pray to God that they grow. And then let's see. Oh, and the other thing that I'm really excited about growing in the ground is all like my squash, like all my melons and my winter squash and pumpkins, because I've never had the space to let anything ramble across the ground. Yeah, like I've seen people just literally, what is that, the Ruth Stout method, where you put them on the ground and just cover them with straw. That's what I plan on doing with the potatoes. And then I know that I would probably get a better harvest if I trellised all of my like vining things, because then I have to worry about, ground pests, slugs, and things of that nature. But I've never had anything ramble on the ground, and I just kind of want to see a whole section of like straw rows covered in like sweet potato leaves or vining pumpkins and melons and things. Like I want to be able to take my kids to my pumpkin patch, that kind of romantic thing. I mean, that's really what I'm excited about. And then like I said, the tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers, I am going to put in raised beds because that's the only thing that I'm going to be trellising is my cucumbers and my tomatoes. And then I'm just going to stick peppers in between them all. That's like my thoughts so far. And I know that they'll do great in the ground. I'm not so worried about getting things to grow at all. I'm only concerned about the design and the layout of this garden that doesn't exist. And that is what has my mind like frozen. It's literally analysis paralysis. Well, look at you. And I've grown potatoes in bags multiple times. It works. I've never gotten a great yield out of it. Oh, there you go. And if mine decides to grow up the side of my fence, I'm going to let it do it. Like I'm all about letting nature do nature. I'm not trying to intervene all that much. And yes, I am going to be trellising my tomatoes and my cucumbers, but that's how I've always grown them. And I only have so many cattle panels in which to trellis things up. And because I'm putting so much money into fencing, I don't have any more money in our current budget to buy more paneling or trellising stuff. Actually, I've never really had that much luck with potatoes either. Us too, Destiny. Like, it's 60 degrees today. It's gloomy, but it's 60 degrees. And I know that I can't just go out there and plant whatever I want, because I know that in being up here on this mountain, when the wind comes through and the cold comes through, it comes through fast, and our storms are like extreme up here, and the wind is so fierce up here. When I first moved here, my neighbor was like, when winter comes, I take everything inside, like all of her porch furniture and stuff like that. She's like, the wind cuts through here so harsh that it will blow my porch furniture into your yard. And her house is the only house that I can see from my house, but it's far away. It's very far away. I think you can see it in the background of a couple of my videos. I can see it, but to have furniture come this far, and I believe it, like it cuts hard around here. Oh, that's awesome. I use my baby beds as chicken brooders. I use cribs, Pack and Play, as a chicken brooder. Yeah, I set up my lights and I set up my grow station in my tiny house. I had my husband originally set it up in my shed that has power, and that was going to be like my garden center, but it's not insulated as well as our tiny house is. And so we had to begrudgingly by my husband, had to move. He's like, oh, this thing that I had to do so emergently that you haven't planted anything to put on, we now have to take apart and move to the tiny house. I was like, yes, yes, please. We were able just to pick it up and it actually fit through the doors just fine. He just wanted to gripe about something. But now it's in my tiny house, which is also not heated, but it is at least insulated. So it's like, it's above freezing in there most of the time. So I have that all set up, and I got all the spacing right so that I can put my seed trays in, and my lights are right above, like I've got all that set up, and I have my plug trays filled with dirt. I literally just have to put the darn seeds in the dirt. And I haven't done it. I haven't. Ugh. Oops. I need to get that. Yeah. Well, that dry away was very important though, right? I actually planted my onions when I planted my garlic. I don't know if that was the best idea. And I went out and I looked in the garlic that I planted. There wasn't that many onions and they were sprouting, and I was like, might as well just plant them as hold on, I'm behind. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's just like the nature of gardening, right? Everyone, you always feel like you're playing catch up. That's interesting. Old box springs. I got tons of those. Actually, no, I think we took most of them to the dump. Hey, Jen. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, exactly. We're all guilty for it, right? Yeah, but I actually have dirt in them and they're like ready to go. And it's like, just put the seeds in the dirt, Amanda. Just do it. Yeah. Isn't that so frustrating, Jen? Oh, okay. Well, thanks for stopping in, Jen. Yeah, I'm literally looking at one tray. There's another tray outside. There's 2 more in my tiny house. Well, if you're planting seeds, then you're definitely going to win this race. I don't have any seeds planted. And has anyone grown loofah seeds before? I've never grown loofah, and I think I've heard that loofah takes a long time to germinate, but according to the package, it says 3 to 10 days. That doesn't seem like a long time, but people say start these now. Does anyone know? Has anyone grown these? Should I start them now? I was planning on starting them now. It is 67 right now for me, but very gloomy. And I feel like crud, so I'm not going to go outside. And I can't enjoy it. That's also a problem of mine. Like, what would I do with them? because I haven't even begun any sort of garden. You just sprouted it and then you didn't grow it? You silly. You silly. Okay, bye. She's so funny. Oh, okay. Well, let me know what she says. Yeah, I could reach out to. I won loofah seeds from Gasmania, and I just told her it was like when I was moving, and she like reached out to me, and she's like, "Oh my god, I never sent you loofah seeds," and I was like, "You know what? I have loofah seeds, and I'm in the process of moving, so and I don't, like I don't want to keep. I don't know where to tell you to send them when you get around to sending them, so just keep them." So I could reach out to her and ask her as well. You've already started your tomatoes? I need to start peppers. I'm planning on starting peppers, the loofah, and then brassicas and lettuce. And I think that's it. That's what I plan on starting right now. Yeah, that's possible.
Mommy, crying. I don't know why.
Well, did you shut the door when you walked out?
Yes.
Are you up from your nap?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's crying.
Well, because he wants to get out. And he did not. Don't go back in there and talk to him.
I want to get my pumpkin dinosaur.
No, you can wait, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, that's a good question.
What?
She's asking what everybody is excited to grow this year.
Ooh.
I think I'm going to try some corn. I've never tried growing corn before. Oh, everyone's trying corn.
Mom, I know how to grow corn.
Oh, you do?
Uh-huh. You just put the seeds in, water it, and you take a nap, and then it grows.
Oh.
And you pick out the corn.
So silly of me. You guys got that? I also have Kajari melons. I've had them for a while. I've had them since I lived in Illinois. But because I didn't have the space to grow anything that rambled or grew, I didn't have enough trellises and things like that. I've never grown them. So I've never successfully grown any watermelon. I did successfully grow sugar baby pie pumpkins. And that was fun. And that was the only thing that rambled, and it just rambled. I just like put some seeds at the end of one of my garden beds, and it like ran down my garden bed and around, and it was one of those seeds that you're like, oh, I'll put this here and it won't grow. And seeds do want to grow. And it grew me like 5 sugar pie pumpkins. I was so tickled. Yeah, the huckleberry sounds pretty interesting. You like that?
Vroom, 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 vroom,
You just take a nap, guys. Put it in water, take a nap. So there, are you talking about the Kajari? They're from India, and they're like the size of a cantaloupe, unless you get like one of those Mondo cantaloupes. When we moved down here, we went to a farmer's market, and there was a cantaloupe bigger than my freaking head. I'm like, that is like a cantaloupe on steroids. Jeez. But yeah, it's like a personal sized melon. And supposedly it's supposed to be really sweet and good. It's something that Jess on Roots and Refuge always, talks about being the best melon that she's ever had. So I've always wanted to try it. So am I okay, like a honeydew? I mean, isn't a honeydew just like a cantaloupe? Aren't they kind of the same thing? So you want to grow your watermelon in the Three Sisters method? My only, all I know about the Three Sisters is, what is it? Corn? Is it any squash? Corn squash and sunflowers, corn. Help me out, guys. Sunflower, squash, and corn. I don't remember. Well, I know that they're a different flavor, but they're like the same kind of deal. They're smaller melons. Corn, beans, squash. No sunflowers. Okay. Well, there you go. So you're going to try watermelon, and then did you say that your corn was a storage corn? I have like 4 different kinds of corn. Well, a melon is like a squash, right? They're similar characteristics. Maybe I feel like they would grow similar. Hey, you saw that it worked, so you want to give it a try. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not, it is copying, but that's how we learn. You see something you like, you give it a try. Yeah, absolutely. Don't fix something that's not broke. What I'm looking forward to the most is hey Hunter, can you keep the crashing sounds down a little bit? Thank you. Buying like a watermelon or something from the store and it just tastes like nothing. When you say they weren't huge, I don't need huge watermelons. I just need flavor in my watermelon, and whatever melon, squash, whatever, like something with flavor in it. That's why I grow anything, is to have flavor. It doesn't matter how, I'm not trying to set records on the girth of my tomatoes or whatever. I just want it to taste like the best thing I've ever put in my mouth. But all right, I think all my children are now up. and wanting to get out of their cribs. The two that are sequestered to a crib, the one that is not is giving you wonderful audio, I'm sure. But it has been wonderful talking with you. And yes, I just need to bite the bullet and do whatever I'm going to do. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be everything that I want first season out. I have not. I've heard of it though. Have you tried it? Is that the one that's like yellow and green? Am I thinking of the right one? I know I've heard of a delicata squash, but is that the one that you're talking about? So what does it taste like? Is it similar to like a butternut squash, or is it more pumpkin-y? Or okay, it is the squash that I'm thinking of. Okay. But I can't remember like the profile of it. Is it like a sweeter? I think what's her face? I can't remember who grew that. Sweet potato butternut squash. Interesting. What kind of squash are you talking about, Destiny? Because I mean, you guys should see this face that my son just gave me. He wants to play his video game. He's raising his eyebrows at me. Stop it, you little goof.
Mommy.
Yeah, I heard you. Ooh, gosh, what just happened there? Can
I play my game?
In a second.
Right.
I would say that zucchini is super easy to grow. Like that's the only kind of squash that zucchini and crookneck, both of those grow really easy. And because they don't ramble, I was able to grow those and they're super prolific. Other than that, I've never, I mean, in that sugar pie pumpkin that was determined to grow. But I've never, summer squash is easy. I've never grown a winter squash, at least successfully. I've tried to grow it. But I didn't have the space for it. And then I ended up putting it on like the shady, like, cause I had one garden bed that was definitely in the sun. And that was like for my peppers and tomatoes. And then my other bed was more shady. And so the things that I wasn't, and peppers and tomatoes were like my big thing that I grew every year. So anything that I was kind of trialing and stuff kind of went in like the shadier one and didn't get as much sun or support and things of that nature.
How come you're not turning it on?
Because you need to learn patience. And I said I would do it when I'm done. Okay.
But I think this is gonna.
I'm saying goodbye. Are you done? I will do it when I'm ready, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Well, good to hear because I've never grown it successfully. I'm definitely hoping to grow winter squash successfully, and be able to preserve it for the winter. I mean, that's why we grow winter squash anyway. And I did one little last story. I know that like zucchini and like crookneck or any kind of like a yellow summer squash, they're all supposed to be summer squash, right? Because they don't have a long shelf life. I grew some zucchini that I started in Chicago, traveled down here on my open trailer. It weathered being transported on an open trailer from Chicago. I grew it in a pot at my dad's house. And then after I left my dad's house, I left my garden at my dad's and just let things that were growing there do whatever they were going to do for the rest of the season. Like I wasn't going to move it again to then this house. So then frost came in, or frost was coming in. So I ran back over to my dad's and I harvested all the last tomatoes. I harvested the last of my zucchini. Like I thought that the plant had already died. There was like 2 zucchini left on it. Harvested those. And I brought them back to this house. And I had that zucchini sitting on my counter until my son's Hunter. If you ask me again, I'm not going to do it. I had my son's birthday party the first weekend of February. That squash, that zucchini was still sitting on my counter and it was fresh as the day I picked it. I couldn't freaking believe it. And we had it with a homemade French onion dip. It was so good and so fresh. I couldn't believe how long this thing lasted. Yeah, isn't that crazy? I've never had a summer piece of produce that lasted so freaking long. I was like, this is like the rock star of zucchini. So I saved all the seeds from it. I'm like, this is unheard of. I can't believe the zucchini is still fresh. But I didn't know that was a thing, that they would last that long. Like, how are we eating a summer zucchini in February that is still good? All right, my kids are really losing it. It's been great talking to you all. I hope you enjoyed. And I will talk to you guys later, okay? Have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much for coming by.